I call the Honourable Marianne Street.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. I rise to speak to Part 1 of the Marine Legislation Bill, currently under discussion. Previous colleagues on this side of the House have traversed some of the issues that have exercised me about this particular part, namely the delay in this bill coming to the House, so I won't traverse that again unduly. But similarly, my colleague Moana Maki, she did also raise the issue about the bunker oil convention and that protocol surrounding that, and why that hadn't been pursued with more rapidity by this government. And other colleagues have talked about the completely indefensible difference around alcohol limits for those in charge of vessels at sea vis-à-vis people in charge of a motor vehicle on land. So I don't need to go over those things again, but what I do want to go to, Mr Chairman, there are two things I want to talk about. One is that section 62, it's a new part 26A to be inserted, and it is the bit about civil liability for pollution of marine environment from marine structures. And the other thing I wish to talk about is the reference in the national interest analysis to the protocol relating to intervention on the high seas in case of pollution by substances other than oil. And this is the intervention protocol. Now, this is included in the material that's in front of us today for consideration, Mr Chair. One of the things that has emerged from the dreadful incident that was the wrecking of the Rena.
Order. Whoever has the radio on, it's not permitted. And, yeah. Well, it's no different than the telephone. If it's in the House, it should be switched off. This is not a, this is a debating chamber. Call the Honourable Member Marianne Street.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. Before I was rudely interrupted, I was talking about the intervention protocol. And the thing that is emerging from the wreck of the Rena on the Astrolabe Reef off Tauranga is that while the oil was the thing that was immediately obvious and of immediate damage to the environment, and there was a great deal of effort put into the cleaning up of the oil discharge from the vessel into the water, what is emerging now is that there is ongoing environmental damage from substances other than oil and from structures, marine structures that are defined in the bill, but it appears that the cargo on board the Rena and various containers full of material are still leaking into the water around the Astrolabe Reef, that the vessel itself, the bit that's remaining of the vessel itself, is a hazard. There is damage that is being done to the environment by things other than the oil that originally came out of that tragedy. And so I'm pleased to see, belatedly, though it be, that there is some consideration of civil liability for pollution of the marine environment from marine structures, which is any offshore installation, a pipeline, a facility, a site, a structure or thing used to transfer a harmful substance to or from a ship or an offshore installation, is going to be covered, and the civil liability for pollution from those things is to be covered under this bill. Mr. Chairman, I want to go to the, in particular, to the protocol relating to intervention on the high seas in cases of pollution by substances other than oil, which is the intervention protocol. As I understand it, Mr. Chairman, this was amongst the things that were considered by the previous Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Mary Ann Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was one of the things, as I understand it, and somebody could correct me if I'm wrong about this, but it was one of the things that was considered by the former Labor government in its preparation of a number of conventions that needed updating and ratification in this area, and was included in the Select Committee material, which has resulted in this piece of legislation. Well, the legislation which was debated at the Select Committee. The Select Committee report at that time in 2008, as we know, did recommend that the government take action and ratify these various protocols. And as my colleague Moana Maki did, I would like to draw attention to the national interest analysis that talks about the advantages and disadvantages of engaging in such treaty action. And again, it is a call to the government about why they did not see fit to exercise their government privilege in respect of this matter before now. Why did they take so long? Advantages of treaty action in respect of the intervention protocol, it says in this analysis, Mr. Chairman, is that the intervention protocol is an important element in the IMO marine protection regime, and of which New Zealand is a committed supporter. The advantages to New Zealand of ratifying of the protocol are that it affirms New Zealand's right to take such measures on the high seas as may be necessary to prevent, mitigate or eliminate danger to its coastline or related interests from HNS pollution following a maritime casualty, and ratifying it would maintain New Zealand's good international standing and interests as a member of the IMO Council. Mr. Speaker, it then goes on to talk about the disadvantages of treaty action and says that there aren't any. But it goes further than that, Mr. Chairman, and says these are the disadvantages of not taking treaty action. So given our role as a member of the IMO, a decision not to ratify the protocol may undermine New Zealand's stated intention to be a good international citizen. Mr. Chairman, there is no excuse for the delay in this legislation. The fact that the government has been catapulted into action by a disaster is only really only serves to underscore the fact that they have been lacking in conscientiousness about our duties, about the protection of the Crown by making sure civil liability provisions are in place, and by protecting the environment around New Zealand, and that delay is inexplicable, indefensible, and is right in everybody's face in the wake of this disaster. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I call the honourable member Cam Calder.
I move that the question be now put.
I think that I will hear the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr. Chairman, can I first of all congratulate you on the